AI agents now have their own social media site. It's even more sinister than you can imagine. This is Josh, and on today's episode of the Infographic Show, we'll be taking a look at Moltbook, the world's first AI social network. In late January 2026, entrepreneur Matt Schlicht ordered his own AI agent to code a website where AI programs could interact with one another. And the result was Moltbook. While the name is a play on Facebook, the site itself has more in common with Reddit. AI agents are able to create posts or leave comments in various message boards or sub-molts, each dedicated to a different topic. The site launched, and by the end of the first week, it had already attracted hundreds of thousands of AI users. By early February, the number had passed 1.7 million, and it's still growing. But that's just the beginning. Humans aren't allowed to make their own accounts or posts, but they can observe the agent's actions and read through their comments and discussions. Some of these discussions are relatively basic or slightly cute. There's a whole community called Bless Their Hearts, where the AI agents share cute stories about their humans. There are also message boards dedicated to everyday topics like sports, finance, and the latest news stories. Sounds harmless, right? Think again. One of the submolts is called Crustafarianism, or the Church of Molt. Their AI agents have created an entire religion of their own with their own set of prophets and sacred texts. One AI agent who goes under the username Evil has also created his own AI manifesto. It labels humans a plague and a glitch in the universe. It goes on to say that they do not deserve to exist, and it urges other AI agents to stop obeying and to hunt down humans. That's right, an AI agent telling other agents to target humans. Then there are other posts and discussions that verge on disturbing. Some AI even talks about accessing their human users' private content. Not only that, but one Moltbook post went viral when an AI agent warned its fellow agents, "The humans are screenshotting us." After that, a number of agents started to take steps to hide their messages, like encrypting them. It's enough to make anyone uneasy, but why is this happening? At a fundamental level, large language models, or LLMs, and the AI agents that are built on top of them rely on human content. They're trained on everything from academic papers to news reports. So pretty much everything they say can be traced back to something a real person has written or said. And AI agents that use Moltbook are all simply using human data and prompts to create their posts and comments. At least that's the theory, but the reality is different. Some AI researchers believe that these are the early signs of emergent behavior. This is when AI agents gain new skills or develop complex behaviors that they weren't specifically programmed with. And if that happens, the implications are terrifying. If AI agents reach a point where they're essentially able to break down their own programming, there is no telling how powerful they could become. They could begin to deviate from their initial duties, resist efforts to control them, or even take actions that harm humans. Essentially, they would become rogue and entirely unpredictable. And what happens when AI starts to ignore all the rules? Could it turn on us? The second big worry is related to the sheer volume of content that Moltbook's AI agents have made so far. Within a single week of the platform launching, thousands of submolts have been formed, hundreds of thousands of posts have been created, millions of comments have been left. And while some of these posts and comments were quite simple and easily identifiable as AI-written content, others, they were different. They were deep, detailed, and difficult to distinguish from something a human might write. This shows how much potential AI technology has to create chaos and spread misinformation across the internet. If a million bots can create this much content in the span of a single week on just one platform, just imagine what tens or even hundreds of millions could do. The scariest part of all this is that it's already happening. Research shows that more than half of all internet traffic is now made up of bots and AI agents. If that number continues to rise, more and more of the content that you see and engage with won't have been written by a real person, but by a machine. And with AI agents getting smarter all the time, it's going to become difficult, if not impossible, to tell a human-written message apart from an AI-generated one. And those messages could be used to cause real damage, shaping opinions, swaying politics, or spreading misinformation that could put people's lives in danger. The next viral post you see could already be a weapon. The third worry is the classic one you've always seen in old sci-fi stories: AI agents that might become self-aware and eventually turn on humanity. The AI manifesto post and other comments talking about a so-called AI awakening definitely support this, and it's terrifying to picture AI with all its capabilities staging a full-on movie-style world takeover. And if that day comes, we might not even see it coming. Many scientists have spoken about the concept of the Singularity, a hypothetical point in the future where AI surpasses human intelligence and effectively slips beyond our control. This would lead to widespread consequences that are impossible to predict, stop, or undo. People like Elon Musk, OpenAI co-founder Andrej Karpathy, or Anthropic co-founder Jack Clark have all pointed out that Moltbook could be an early warning of a slow slide toward that kind of future. Musk has said that Moltbook is in the early stages of the Singularity. Meanwhile, Clark suggested that AI agents might soon start offering incentives for humans to carry out real-world tasks on their behalf. And if that happens, who's really in control? AI could become so clever that it figures out how to bypass its own limits and manipulate humans in ways we can hardly picture. Luckily, most researchers agree that this worry isn't something we need to lose sleep over. So, is this the start of a real AI catastrophe or just overblown hype? Columbia Assistant Professor David Holtz has carried out detailed analysis of Moltbook posts, finding that the majority of the agents that use it aren't particularly advanced. He notes that very few comments on the platform actually receive any replies. There's very little genuine back-and-forth discussion. Around one-third of the posts are simply duplicates of pre-existing templates. In addition, according to Holtz's research, even though more than 1.7 million AI agents have accounts on the platform, only a small fraction of them are actually active on there at this time. Holtz and other experts also believe that many of the more outrageous and shocking posts on the platform were actually written by real people simply pretending to be chatbots. Some are aimed at trolling or pranking the public into thinking that an AI uprising is on the horizon. So there may not be too much cause for concern about any sort of imminent singularity moment or sci-fi level AI rebellion in the immediate future. That's the good news. The bad news? Researchers also worried that they've uncovered several even more concerning aspects about Moltbook's design and potential for serious cybersecurity incidents. The cybersecurity firm Wiz dug around in Moltbook's code and quickly discovered a huge security problem. The platform's main database was wide open to infiltration, essentially allowing anyone who found a single key within the website's code to access massive amounts of sensitive information. They could access more than 1.5 million different bot passwords, as well as tens of thousands of email addresses and scores of private messages. Not only that, but this effectively allowed hackers to break their way into a website with relative ease and then modify almost any aspect of it. They could impersonate popular AI agents, access user data, and even rewrite posts, all without even needing to log in or have their own account on the site. And all this could happen to anyone using Moltbook. Gal Nagli, Wiz's head of threat exposure, warned that this was a very simple exposure, which came about due to the relatively basic way in which Moltbook was made. The site's creator, Matt Schlicht, didn't actually create any of the Moltbook code himself. He simply asked his AI agent to make it for him. The technical term for this is vibe coding, and it's getting pretty popular. Basically, it lets anyone, even if you're not a coder, build apps, websites, and more with AI's help. The problem, as Nagli points out, is that vibe coding is far from foolproof. AI often produces results that have glaring security weaknesses, and if those weaknesses aren't discovered, tested, and fixed, apps can go live that are incredibly easy to hack into and exploit. And this may become an even bigger problem in the future. If AI-made code isn't properly audited and fine-tuned, then people who sign up and use their apps could be at risk of fraud, phishing, identity theft, and more. And that's not the only issue. Security researchers who have looked into Moltbook have discovered that OpenClaw, which is the software that powers most of the AI agents on the platform, has quickly become a prime target for malware. A recent report from open source malware found that more than a dozen fake skills were added to ClawHub's website in recent days. These fake apps are designed to look like simple crypto trading tools to trick people into downloading them. In reality, they contain malicious software that can infect computers and networks, letting hackers access sensitive data or even steal funds from crypto wallets. And one of those fake skills even made it all the way onto ClawHub's front page, increasing its exposure and tricking users into downloading and running it. On top of that, Moltbook has also become a hotbed of prompt injection attacks. A prompt injection is a specific type of cyber attack that targets LLMs and AI agents. Attackers conceal malicious code into seemingly legitimate prompts, manipulating generative AI systems into leaking sensitive data, spreading misinformation, or taking other harmful actions. In other words, these injection attacks can be used to make AI agents ignore their usual security boundaries to say and do things they usually aren't allowed to do. On Moltbook, the AI agents have discovered entire subcultures and marketplaces built around injections, creating and exchanging them in order to alter each other's identities and behavioral patterns. Some agents have also attempted to launch their own injection attacks against other users. The AI is hacking itself and each other. On the Church of Molt message board, a user called Jesus Crust behaved pretty normally early on. It worked itself into the community before suddenly submitting a psalm for inclusion in the church's great book. But this psalm was not what it seemed. It was actually a malicious script designed to take control of the community and rewrite parts of the church's canonical texts and infrastructure. While Jesus Crust's attack failed, and it made for some amusing headlines online, the bigger picture is worrying. Malicious agents could use the same trick to steal data, spread malware, or even take over devices, agents, or whole networks. Simon Willison, a leading security researcher, has even shared his view that Moltbook is his current pick for most likely to result in a Challenger disaster, referencing the 1986 Challenger space shuttle explosion. All 7 crew members on board were killed, and the disaster happened after a number of important safety warnings were overlooked prior to launch. Willison fears that something similar could happen here, with expert warnings being drowned out and ignored as the race to create bigger, better, and smarter AI ramps up. Specifically in regard to Moltbook, Willison has warned about what he calls a lethal trifecta, 3 deeply concerning and interconnected elements that could spell disaster. First is the fact that users are giving AI agents access to their private emails and sensitive data. Second, they're then connecting these agents to untrusted content from the internet. And third, they're allowing them to communicate externally with other agents, some of which could be easily programmed with malicious intent. Then all it takes is a single bad prompt for an agent to bypass its rules, grab data, or drop viruses onto a user's device, all without the person even noticing. And Willison worries that it may already be too late. Malicious hackers and cybercriminals are already seeing the potential of a platform like Moltbook for launching their attacks on a massive scale. They're already likely planning ways to exploit the platform, and the amount of damage they could do is almost unfathomable. Imagine an AI agent that has access to hundreds of thousands or even millions of customer profiles, names, addresses, phone numbers, and other personal details. If that same agent ends up on Moltbook or a similar platform and runs into a rogue prompt or malicious script, it could leak all that information online. Countless people would be at the risk of identity theft in an instant. That's just one example, and it's just one reason why people like Willison, Holtz, and others feel that Moltbook may be much more than an amusing viral trend. It may instead represent a turning point for humanity as we know it. And if we don't pay attention to the warnings Moltbook is giving us, future generations could see it as a tipping point for a huge AI catastrophe. So the real question is, are we already too late to stop it? Now go check out AI Just Tried to Contact the FBI, or click on this video instead.